a stereographer, which is very relevant to what I'm about to show you. The stereo realist camera. This is this is unfortunately my camera of choice for the past 24 years. I've been stereoscopic. I've been researching stereoscopic communication for over half my life, but this is a video specifically on the greatest camera ever made, perhaps also by the greatest camera company ever to exist. This is the Mercury 2, and it was manufactured by the Universal Camera Corporation. This was a follow-up to the Mercury CC, or just the Mercury, which was, I believe it was, everything was patented and retailed in 1935. This is one of the most important cameras in, I believe, the history of cameras at all. This is the first camera that is ever to have a hot shoe that was synced to the shutter. A hot shoe flash I'm specifically talking about. This also has, if you look closely, this also has another cold shoe, which is just a accessory flash, excuse me, an accessory clip. And that's basically what this was designed around, since most cameras had some sort of accessory clip on it. This incorporated it with electrical contacts that were synchronized to the shutter. And this was invented by George Kende, I believe. I'm going to take the camera down for a second, excuse me. This is a lot better. I'm just going to sit down if nobody else minds. Thank you very much. So this was a camera that was manufactured by Universal. The Mercury CC took a different film type. It was the Univex 00 film format, which I'll be getting into later. This is a very quick video, hopefully, just on the functionalities of the camera. And when I said I'm a stereographer, what I know about this camera from being a stereographer, because there is so many similarities. If I could just show you very quickly, when I say this is the first camera with a hot shoe on it, which basically is like one of the only elements, like, like a camera's always going to be a light tight box, like, like that's the only like basic element. Besides that, the hot shoe is quite universal from the day it was invented and the day that it was patented and the day that it retailed to the consumer culture. Throughout the entire history of photography, and the second camera, so it started out with the Univex, the Mercury, just the Mercury camera, which took a specifically different films format. It was basically Kodak's original 35mm film. I'll get into that later. And when in the history of photography has anybody ever lawyered Kodak in a patent war or stole any camera or any film format from Kodak? Like, Kodak was ruthless. They were a fucking awful company. They were like one of the most racist, like anti-Semitic, like it was annoying. Like, like all they did was like, like they had hired goons in the patent office that would just steal other people's patents. And if like, you had if you were manufacturing any sort of like photographic film or dry plates or anything like that, and you did not let yourself be absorbed by Kodak, they would just like, set fire to your factory and blow it up, like probably with your family inside of it, because they were that fucking ruthless. And I want to say, you see the similarity? The patent on this did not actually expire until 1947, which was the exact year that the stereo realist camera was retailed for the first time after like years of like being in development. There's a lot of people will say there's a lot of shady history in the Universal Camera Corporation. I'm going to say first and foremost, the only history that anybody that I know really has in like photography, like any camera nerd or anybody who has like history on their radar, well, this is the only reference. Everything else was erased. The Universal Camera Company story absolutely was erased. It's one of the greatest stories never told. I've been doing a year-long research project on it, and I gotta say, any company that ever was in camera manufacturing, in, I want to say, between the time that George Eastman killed himself in 1932, you know, like because like megalomaniac, like you know, like billionaire, ruthless like motherfuckers, like just like get tired of making money and suddenly decide to kill themselves. You know, like they called it moida. You know, like really, give me a break. This is one of the best cameras ever made in the history of cameras, and so by the way, let me just show you very quickly. This is the winder. There's a lot of correlations between this and the stereo realist camera, besides the hot shoe flash that they stole. That they didn't steal. That was, let's just say there's a lot to be said about any camera company that's in between 1932 when even before when he was giving away his like fortune to the exact people that he like literally hated. Suddenly, you know, like suddenly he just got charity on his mind in the middle of just like being a ruthless billionaire that just like took and killed. Um, this is how you open up the back. And I'm doing that right now because what I'm going to be doing is showing you, this is an 85-year-old camera, like 1938, right? The Mercury 2 came out in 1938. This was a 35 millimeter camera, right? The company that stole the 35 millimeter format from Kodak suddenly made a 135 format camera. There's so much going on back then. I've conducted a year-long research project, and let's just say it's like trying to find the bottom of a fractal. It's been absolutely nuts. But so this has a woolen sack. This lenses are interchangeable on this. It's very hard to find any other lens that comes with it, which is the like woolen sack tricore. It's a 3-element lens, I believe. So you can screw it off on the bottom. And by the way, this is the only element of this camera that is almost impossible to judge. I'm going to just put on like a magnifying lens for a second, if you will bear with me. Can I get into there? Okay, hold on. Oh my god, can I not focus on this? What's going on? Okay, so this goes down, like, you know, it's regular 22 to like 2.8, I believe. And the one caveat in this camera is that you cannot see exactly where, by the way, my video is backward, excuse me, I'm doing this on a face camera. Somewhere in there, you literally can't see it. There's no, there is, but it's a hair whisker of an indicator what your setting is on your you know, like just opening and closing your iris, your f-stop on this. I have another camera over here that I have loaded with film, which is not going to be my demo camera. This is going to be a demo camera for a second. But that's the only problem with this camera, is that you can't see the indication. So when I actually do use this camera, like, you know, out and about, like, you know, in the wild, I try very hard just to see how open and closed my iris actually is. The indicator on this is such a, it's not even a cat whisker. It's, I literally had to put it on, like, you know, like a smartphone, like, you know, like clip on magnifier, and I still can't see it. So it's quite difficult. Everything else on this camera, I mean, it is gorgeous. It's one of the funnest cameras to hold. Like, I mean, like, it's literally almost impossible to drop. The only time I've ever dropped it, by the way, is when I, like, you know, it doesn't have any lug nuts on it. The cases on it are, like, you know, like falling apart leather, etc., etc. But, you know, you can get like a hand grip if you want, and just like kind of like, you know, screw it into the tripod hole, whatever, quarter 20. And at the same time, I'm still going to be holding it in hand. You don't want to not hold this camera in your hand. It's so tactile. It's so perfect. Like, all you want to do is hold it. And, like, you know, I was tra-la-lying around, and the screw, like, you know, came undone. And it dropped straight down on the ground, on its lens. The back popped open for a second, and you know what happened to it? Nothing. That's one indication of what I call a quality camera. That's something that this camera and the stereo realist definitely have in common, is that they are both manufactured in the World War II, in the thick of World War II, and if I don't have a camera that can't put up with me, which is a camera that was manufactured by them, which was literally designed to like withstand war. That's one thing about this camera. You cannot do anything to it. You could be the biggest butterfingers in the world, try to beat me, and it'll survive. And not only that, like even if the back opens, like you'll expose 4 frames. Because you want to know the other thing that's excellent about this camera. This is a half frame camera. This is a rotary shutter camera. This will take 72 shots if on a 36 regular 36 frame cartridge. Sometimes it like I have to remember if I have film in it, if it never ended yet. I'm taking off this lens right now because what I'm going to show you is the first technical hack, I want to say. It's one of the reasons why this is still the best camera in the world. It's fucking brilliant. So I'm going to open this up for a second. You know, you have your regular speeds on like any camera. This goes down to 2.8, I believe. Mind your differences between your winder. Excuse me. It's so tactile. It's a joy to hold. It's like if my hand could have sex, this is what it would feel like with a machine, you know, because I'm a freak like that. All right, so this is not as snappy as a shutter. This, by the way, is a camera that was designed to rival the Leica and you know, like the European cameras at the time, the imports, and this is entirely American made, and I totally believe that because Universal Camera Corporation not only manufactured cameras, they also manufactured their own film, which was gorgeous film produced by Gavart, fine Belgian quality, and also you know, they ground their own lenses. They were an all-in-one business, and New York to the core. If you're in New York City or if you know New York, 23rd Street, the Home Depot building, you know, Home Depot on 23rd Street, like how they take up the first 2 floors, and there's a couple others, and there's the atrium on top. They own the entire building. That was their factory. They owned the penthouse and the 11th and 12th floor, and the building next door at 28 East 23rd. They had offices from the get-go in the Flatiron building, which was the first skyscraper ever in the history of the world. They had, like, you know, their film processing place on 28th Street. They had a place, you know, their garage was like around the corner, 24th. They have tie-ins to, I want to say, utility manufacturing company, and tie-ins to how the Chicago cluster cameras just came into place. There's so many tie-ins and so much. There's a lot going on during that time, and so please listen to this for a second. This is what a slow shutter sounds like on a Mercury. Okay, that wasn't slow enough. Why is this working all of a sudden? Hold on. I'm just gonna open this up and like let you watch from the inside. This, by the way, was, when I'm saying it was a rival to the Leica, this was the first camera. It was $25 at the time, which is probably in these days like $6.50 at the most. Okay, that's a nice example of a slow shutter. This is a slow and sluggish shutter for the Mercury. The Mercury or the Mercury 2. This has time, which is T. TB is time and bulb. Time and bulb differentiate between T is like, let me set it on T. I'll show you what T is. T means time. And what that means is you press the shutter once to open it, and then you press the shutter whenever you feel like closing it again. Bulb is different between, as soon as you press it, it opens, and you must hold your finger down on the trigger, or if you have a cable release, you just keep the bulb open, and as soon as you let go, that's when it, you know, shutters closed. So I'm going to put this on time for a second, which I just did. Right? So see, it's holding open. That's what time is, and it's not going to close the shutter until I press it again, right? Bulb is exactly what I just said again. It's not time, it's bulb, and bulb will only hold the shutter open as long as I'm keeping it open. So if I want to keep it open, I have to have my finger on the trigger, or I have to have a cable release with my finger on the trigger, and then as soon as I let go, it shutters closed. But you can see this is a rotary shutter. This is a gorgeous design. It's one of the this is the reason why it has this very distinctive Art Deco hump to it, because it encases the rotary shutter. It needs that much space to turn. They couldn't actually fit it in a camera without that happening. Otherwise, it would be like 10 feet big or whatever. And just I'm exaggerating, but it would have been impossible to design unless it had this. And this encases the rotary shutter that spins around, and there are no real parts that are. You don't need a degree, or you don't need any lessons at all to really make a repair to this shutter, and I'm going to show you exactly how easy that is right now. This goes all the way up to 1,000. When you are setting the speed to this camera, there is one for the winding, which I was winding before, and it has such a tactile, has such a satisfying, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I just went over my friend's house yesterday, and there's, you know, generations between like 8 years old and 80 something years old. Let's just say that. And no matter who I put this camera into their hands, they all agreed that this is one of the most satisfying feelings that they've ever had operating any sort of camera ever. It's gorgeous. It's one of the best cameras ever made. It is the best camera ever made, in my opinion. There's literally nothing wrong with it. After 85 years, it's beautiful. It's the lens itself. It takes gorgeous, sharp photos. The half frame is absolutely. Don't worry about half frame. If you can't compose in a half frame, it's just half of a regular 24 by 36. Give me a break. So this is somehow all of a sudden being acting a lot more regularly, but this is how you hack, I want to say. I'm not going to say fix, because I'm not going to say washing something out with thing with lighter fluid is a real fix, but it is in this case. You know, so I have Smarties. Excuse me. Hey. So what I'm about to do is the trick that I want to say will alleviate any shutter problems, and I've done this on. Excuse me. I've done this on this very camera. This is the third camera I own. Over Mercury 2. It's not freaking good. So I took the lens off. This is a camera with a hole in it. Where the lens goes. I'm going to take a plastic bag, just because I know from experience from doing this a couple of times. I'm just going to set this in here, because what we're going to do, we're going to douse it in lighter fluid. And that's going to fix, I'm going to say outright fix, any shutter problem that you have with this. This is a rotary shutter. It literally, many a times, states that this was a camera that was quite literally, like, you know, the parts came into the factory and they didn't manufacture it. They just assembled it. Basically, assembly shop, not a factory, at one of the floors. And so I know just for a fact that the lighter fluid will leak out from the sides once you douse it. This is only going to take a minute to actually get the shutter back into the snappiest speed that it can possibly go. I'm using just, like, you know, if you're into old 35mm cameras, or really any cameras that are just, you know, pre-1960, I want to say, if you don't have a thing of Ronsoil in your house, get a thing of Ronsoil. You're going to be using it all the time. You're going to clean things with it. You're gonna fix rotary shutters with it. It's, you know, it's a staple. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just douse this with a little lighter fluid, and I'm not gonna use this immediately. I'm just gonna swish it around. I could absolutely empty this out in like a minute, and the shutter will be snappier. I'm gonna leave it for a second, but don't immediately put film in it once you have a snappy shutter back, which is what is going to literally happen. I can literally shoot it now and it'll be back to normal. it'll only be back to normal for a second. This is, always remember, this is like an 85-year-old camera, so it does have perhaps um 85 years of like dust and like like maybe the grease like got like a little thick and it's like sluggish and stuff like that. So in my experience personally, when I wash out the gunk from the camera in this fashion, it usually takes me about 2 or 3 baths, I want to say, to get it to the point that it does not seize up again. So one wash is not perhaps going to do it. I'm just gonna put it. I could feel it on my fingers. I could already feel it leaking out the sides. I'm just gonna like put it in like a little tray, and I'm just gonna like leave it over here on the side. So that's right away immediately. That's how you fix the shutter on a rotary camera and on the Mercury. I'm sure it also pertains to the Mercury CC, the original Mercury, the Mercury CC. This is the Mercury 2. The difference, of course, is in between the film type they take, which is the Univex 00, which is the proprietary film that they stole from Kodak. Yes, and the Mercury CC, excuse me, the Mercury 2 takes 35 millimeter, regular 35 millimeter roll, standard roll, and it's a half frame camera. It takes 32 shots. Let's go to the next one. So this is my shooting camera right now. By the way, the Mercury, both the original Mercury and the Mercury 2, were both originally advertised to shoot, excuse me, color film. They, it was not only the first camera to have a hot shoe, so you can use a flash that is just clipped into the accessory clip. This one doesn't have the cold accessory clip on it. This was the first one that I ever bought, and as soon as I picked it up, I fell in love with it. It was also, when I say I was a stereographer, I mean, like, I am only a stereographer. This was literally the first regular, just like non-stereo camera that I ever bought in my entire life, I believe. I'm a stereographer for 24 something years, and if I ever did buy a regular camera, I bought it with the intention of twin rigging it, or like just like doing some cha-cha. Like it was always stereo focused, and this is very very much the first camera that I ever bought that was a regular camera. That I always wanted one because I remember a long time ago I saw it at my Uncle Michael's camera store back when I was a wee little girl, a long time ago, and something hit me when I saw it on the table on the flea market, and I picked it up and I fell in love, and I've given one away to somebody that was particularly interested in photography, and he loves it too. And I keep on buying more and more, as long as, and I specifically buy ones on eBay that are like, the shutter is slow, and so they're a little bit discounted, and I buy those knowing that I can fix it 100% with the lighter fluid trick that I'm showing you right now, which is sitting on the side. So I have a roll of film in this. This was a camera that was specifically advertised to utilize color film, which was a very new technology at the time. I mean, there were color films being produced, there were color plates being produced, there was autochrome process, there's a lot of different types of, there's additive. Um, um, they came out with the Gavart, I want to say, came out with the subtractive color process that Kodachrome basically is the ultimate representative of, I want to say. But a year later, after Kodak, I want to say something about that, but I'm not going to right now. And basically, this was always advertised as a candid camera, as a flash photography camera that utilized an accessory shoe, which they basically turned into the hot shoe, which is in every camera ever made, ever since the existence of cameras since the Mercury. And it these two elements alone really kind of overshadow a lot of other details about it. This is one of the reasons why it's one of the most important cameras ever made. So when I loaded this up with film, I was originally going to like load it up with like black and white print film, and I'm like, what the hell am I doing? I'm like, this is a Mercury. I'm like, I should be putting color film in this every single time I use it. So I found a nice roll of tungsten in my freezer that I didn't realize I had, and like, thank goodness, because that's exactly what this is for. It's meant to shoot color, and I want to say I definitely wanted a roll of tungsten in it. This camera, I have something that, as a stereographer, I know to buy if I ever want to use a flash. And this being the first camera with a hot shoe flash on it, god damn it, if I don't actually use the flash on this, like I'm being sacrilegious or something like that. You know what I mean? So what I have on here is basically, it is a like a PC cord adapter. The only thing that's different between a regular PC cord adapter that you would just shove on any camera that you would have to like plug in like that, is basically a feature that has been on a majority of stereo cameras that I've ever owned, or that I've ever, like, you know, ran into and used and then acquired, or like know from a friend, something like that. So this, and this is the exact same element as the Mercury. The hot shoe on this has a what I thought at the time was like this proprietary little bump. Do I need to put the lens on this? Let me see. You might see it better like this. Hold on. Da da da. So you see this. Am I getting into focus? Okay. See how that has like a raised bump on it? That requires a very specific PC cord adapter. This is a regular one that I carved out specifically for a stereo realist camera to use, and let's see if I can put it on. I made it myself, so like it's a little hard to shove, but I just want to say that what I did, and this wasn't like this. I had to carve this out by hand. I like literally hand filed it. And I hand filed it in half at one point because I was only going to use it on the stereo realist. The only difference between the two is that the Mercury, since it has this very distinctive, like, you know, back end to what would be a regular, normal hot shoe, without it being a stereo adapter flash, PC cord adapter, it's shoved on this way. The stereo realist shoves on that way. I want to see the normal way that you would be used to. Either way, the contact point is exactly the same. So I basically carve out, do I have to do this again? I basically carve out by hand, or file by hand, this channel that lets me clear that hot shoe point, that lets me, so it'll let the it'll let that bump, it'll basically go over the bump that I just showed you. And basically what this is, it has a, you can depress this. Hold on, let me see if I can show you. All right, I'm gonna just hold it like this. So you see the way I could just like press that down? So that's like on a spring. What this does is this makes the contact point with that little bump, that distinctive bump that both the stereo realist, which stole it, patent, copyright infringement, let's just say, that it shares with the Mercury. This happens to be a very distinctive, a very, this is my favorite PC cord adapter. I'm going to take this off in a second after I show you this. The reason why I don't use this one, I have another one which I could not find in my house because it's absolutely insane right now. I just had a roommate situation, and let's just say I turned my house inside out for him. But basically, if I were to try to put this on it, see the way that this has like this kind of black plastic edge over here and over here? That's enough to not let it get the clearance it needs to make that contact point, and it's not going to work. It literally, this little contact on the bottom needs to come in contact with the actual hot shoe contact that'll synchronize the flash to it, and it'll work at any speed. It's not going to be like, like technically 100% like exact, because it is not the actual flash that was designed to go on this. This, by the way, is. And let me tell you when I say that there's so many similarities between the Stereo Realist and the Mercury 2. I mean, like, get out of town with this. I mean, this, by the way, was the exact camera and the exact correlation that started me on the research that has literally consumed a year's worth of free time in my life, and it's worth it. It basically proves so many histories entirely wrong and fabricated. It's a mystery. It's only opened up more questions than it actually answered. But so basically these would slip on, and you'd need a flash bulb, and so this is one of the original flash bulbs. I already flashed it, unfortunately, by accident, by the way. Oy, oy, oy. But so this camera had a hot shoe, which is this little this flash adapter is on it, and the cold shoe is missing from this camera. It's just the way that I bought it. So when I have been using it, I have literally been holding the flash in my hand and just kind of like bouncing it around. But this will take any regular modern flash now. So if you have a universal Mercury 2, if you have a Mercury CC, if you have a Mercury CX, if you have any of the Mercury lines, this is the hack that you need. You need to buy or find in your house and like carve it out yourself. They used to be very prevalent on eBay, maybe about 5-10 years ago. They are not so much. I found one. There really aren't that many anymore that I have even like run into anymore. I'm glad I own the ones that I do, and this is my favorite one. I will never give this one up. If I lose this, like, I will flip out. But I only found one in the recent search that I did, and basically it is the adapter that you need. It's called a stereo camera flash adapter. That's the only actual terminology that I know to look it up, because I've only ever used it with stereo cameras until this camera, and that's what I mean. There's so many different correlations between it. What I'm going to do right now is, first of all, I'm going to turn it on. This is just like, this is like one of the cheapest flashes. What is this? This is an Argus automatic. Like that, I think I might have gotten this for free. All of the ones that I got. My favorite sound. I don't know if you can hear this. So I'm putting this flash on. I'm putting the PC cord, and that's what this is. It looks really weird, but this is exactly what it's for. You plug that in right there. And you know something? I'm going to take a selfie of myself. I'm not going to take a picture of you guys right now. So I'm going to, this is one with my nice tungsten film in it. I'm going to wind my camera to the, going to advance it to the next frame. Ooh, so, oof, just snaps. It's like whiplash. It's one of the sexiest feelings that I know for my hand, from a camera, ever. It's wonderful. I'm going to put this on, what do I have in here? It's like a tungsten, like 100. It can't be 120, it's 100. I'm going to put this on, I'm going to set this at 200, 1/200th of a second. I'm going to take a selfie. And by the way, so this has a distance scale. Such a good camera. So well designed. I don't even have to look at it. I already know that, watch, I'll do this blind. It's a great street photography camera. I already know that this right here at 6 o'clock, that's 3 feet, right? And you can look at that by where this like little indicator thingy is. And let me check it. Now it's 3 feet. I'm going to set this on the closest range. So this goes up to 50 feet. Yes, it does. And it goes all the way down to like a 1.25 feet, I want to say 1.5 feet. So I could take a selfie with this, and I'm gonna take a selfie with this right now, and I'm gonna show you that this hot shoe accessory flash adapter for a stereo realist camera. It's specifically for stereo cameras, specifically for a stereo realist. Like I think a Wollensack had the same exact flash hot shoe flash on it with a little bump. I want to say perhaps a Revere also had it. There are many stereo cameras that don't because they didn't get to steal the patent from them. Like a TDC, this has a very proprietary flash connection that I won't ever use ever. I only take this out in daylight situations. And let me tell you something. Going through the roll on this is already like a tour de force. But here I go. I'm gonna say what is on 200. I'm gonna bounce it over here. Am I at? Here I am. All right, that's how I am. Boom. All right, the flash went off. You want to know why? Because they have a stereo camera flash adapter on it. Stereo camera PC cord flash adapter on it. Do not purchase one that looks like this, that looks like this, that looks like this, that has the channel hand carved out in the bottom. These are the ones that I make myself for stereo cameras specifically. Thankfully, I had this one. And the reason why this is a PC cord adapter for specifically a stereo camera or a universal Mercury or Mercury 2 is because of this bump. This bump will not, you can't put just like a regular like flash straight on it. This also takes it backwards. So like if you have a flash that is, you know, a regular flash, you can't mount it on this unless you actually like do some surgery like that and like do like that. You actually can't even mount it on it backwards, but this is what you would have to do. And you're absolutely unable to do that. Even if this had the cold shoe, you would be unable to do that. What you have to do is you have to get a stereo adapter for it. Stereo camera adapter. The reason why this is a stereo camera adapter is because all of them have this depressing element to it that will let you kind of nudge it in and it will depress and then press up against that little bump that I showed you. And that is what makes the contact. So if it isn't something that presses down very easily, and even this has it. And this is the one that I carved out by hand myself. And I don't know if I could show you this very easily, but I can press this down and I can bounce my finger on it with my fingernail. This is the type of adapter that you actually need to clear that bump and to make contact with it, and for your flash to be synchronized with your shutter release. And which, by the way, is a very complicated process. I did a lot of research, and oh my gosh, like I appreciate what people do a lot more. And unfortunately, it's after the fact. But yeah, it's a very important thing. So how that flash went off that I just showed you. If you end up getting a adapter like this, and this, by the way, I actually don't know the brand of it. My friend gave me this because because the Stereo Realist is is legitimately the worst camera ever to be designed to be used by a human. And so instead of actually like having to submit to operating it, which is what you do when you're a stereo realist shooter, you don't shoot the camera, you submit to it. He ended up building like a twin, like, you know, like 4x5 setup that, like, you know, like was just like regular box cameras, I think. And because it's that big of a pain in the ass of a camera to actually use and actually shoot, it's one of the, it wasn't designed to be shot, and I'm going to say that wholeheartedly because I am an excellent researcher, and the stereo realist, the history of the stereo realist is obnoxiously fake. I mean, just awfully, like who wrote this fucking story? Like, who wrote this shit? And people believe it? Like, give me a break. It's also repeated again and again. It's actually a trope that exists in many other camera companies. It's actually taken straight up, and I'm not going to say it's taken straight up from Kodak's history, from Joseph Mahali's, because at this point, I don't know which one is real. All I know is that it appears again and again and again and again, and the variants appear again and again and again throughout the entirety of related camera companies that existed in the late 1930s, the early to late 1940s, and into the 1950s and beyond. Basically, there's a whole lot of stuff. You know, it was World War II. Like, we were, you know, importing Germans and Hungarians to make the atom bomb. Like, there was a lot going on back then. And then after that, it was the Cold War, and like, you know, so there's a lot of I'm not going to say that it was money laundering. I think perhaps it was something a lot more serious than that. But basically, there's no rhyme or reason for the fact that all this shit happened back then, and like like especially in stereo photography history. By the way, I'm trying to make this little contact point clear, and it's a little hard to do because I'm used to doing it on a stereo camera, and this is being a pain in the ass, and I have to like actually like get a paper clip or something to like just like kind of like shove this up as I'm shoving it on the camera, because I just want to show you another thing real quick. And can I use this? Is this a paper clip? Let's see if this works. I think I'm just using a safety pin. Hold on. I'm putting this back on before I end this video. La-di-da-di. Come on. Oh, come on. Give me a break. Are you serious? I can't believe I can't do that. I can't put this back. Oh, here's a bobby pin. Hold on. If a bobby pin can't do it, then like nothing can. Let me just bend this back into. This was for my hair. Oh, I shouldn't be doing that. That's my teeth. My dentist is gonna kill me. Let's see if I could do it like this. I hope it didn't just chip a tooth. That would be awful. Come on, baby. Oh, come on. Oh, you suck. Being a stereographer is no walk in the park. Putting a stereo photography element onto a Mercury 2 is another pain in the ass. Another level of pain in the ass that I wasn't expecting to happen live. Okay, before I do this, let me just show you the lighter fluid soaked trick that I just did to make the shutter on this camera that I have soaking this whole time. Did we forget about this? All right. It's still a little wet. All right, I'm gonna open this up. Oh my god, it's like a little really wet. All right, so I just shoved a bunch of lighter fluid. You can still see it's gleaming, it's glistening. It's still wet with lighter fluid. Let me, if you could remember what that sounded like before, let me put it on the fastest setting. Let me put it on 1/1000th. That's what I'm listening for. Thump, like thwack. You hear that? That's all there is to it. I closed up the back. I put it in literally a plastic bag from the bodega, and I shoved a bunch of bronze oil in it, and I shook it up for a second and just let it sit there. It would have been clear in a minute, honestly. You hear that? Let me get closer. That's what you want to hear. And this, by the way, will never change sound. That's one of the beautiful things about this camera. This is a rotary shutter. It does not actually move faster or slower. It always moves at the same speed, unless it's being sluggish because of years and years of debris like caught in it. And it will always remain that speed. Basically, how it operates is that it has a adjustable like slit. Basically, anytime that it's a like 1/1000th is a very small slit that spins around at the same speed as like probably like 1/120th, which is a much larger slit, and I want to say it's a pie slice. Let me put it on 1/120th. Same sound. That's 20. That's set on 20. This is set on 1,000. Let's compare. So good. It's so much fun. If you have ADD, it's freaking awesome. It's the best thing. You don't even have to put film in it. You just play with it. Yep. I'll open it up in the back just to show people. Again, the little bottom boop, right? Okay. Right? I'm going to put this all the way as slow as possible without going on bulb. Oh, I guess I have it on time. Excuse me. Not that slow. Here we are. We're on 20 now. So, there's only one more thing. That snappy as hell. That's what you want it to sound like. I'm not going to shutter test this because I already know. Give me a break. If you want to make a homemade shutter tester, go get a TV set. I'll show you how to do it later. But So that's the adapter that you need to actually put on the Mercury 2, which is a stereo camera flash adapter, which is a PC cord adapter that has a plungeable contact point, I want to say. I showed you how to clean out the shutter with basically just shoving some Ronzoil in it, swishing it around, and leaving it for 5 minutes, which is even 4 minutes too long. Um, you could, of course, like let it just set, and it will eventually evaporate. And make sure that you don't put film in it directly after doing that. You want to have 2 or 3 baths of that for it to actually take and be permanent for another 85 years, let's say. And if you do get like that weird little my favorite flash adapter that I want to say, and you don't have that, you don't have the extra accessory clip on it that you can shove a flash on it, and this is a modern flash. What I can wholeheartedly recommend, basically, is just like using like a grip in that case, and this is one of my favorite grips in the world. This is like a old Bakelite Vivitar grip. I don't know like what I only know it's like a Bakelite Vivitar grip. That's like what I've always called it. And basically, you're just gonna shove that on. This comes apart very nicely, so you can just take it off. You shove it back on. This in itself, it has like like a nice like you put it on a tripod. It takes a. You can absolutely put a realist on this, so like this will take a lot of cameras, right? This is the widest base that you could have. This by the way, the stereo realist has the widest rangefinder base in all of film photography. Um, it's freaking huge. And if you're a photography nerd and you're not in, oh my god, yeah, don't worry. I don't own anything that I can't drop on the floor and it not work anymore. I promise you, yeah. That's just some everyday crap. That's why I always have adult supervision when I take any other camera that I'm not always regularly showing or shooting. I have like about 14 stereo realists. I was going to teach a class, but I also just like to, it's my day to day. It's my daily driver. So already I could just do that. Um, let's, I'm not going to put this on. It was being a pain in the ass. What I do is like, I have like I have a sort of hairpin. That's why I was trying to use a bobby pin, but I have like a hairpin that I use that I just kind of like shove this up as I'm putting it on. Watch it work now. That I shove this up and I shove the plunger up as I'm putting it on. Let's just say it is. This is a beautiful grip. It has a cold shoe up here that you could just, excuse me, you could just put a flash on. Yeah. I'm putting this on backwards, by the way. And all you do is plug it in. This actually even has a. This is the other thing I have to show you. Oh my god, I almost forgot. Um, here we go. Older cameras. Older cameras. I've noticed. This was something about the stereo realist that was a huge deal. Is that like a regular cable release would not entirely fit on it, and sometimes if it had like a really short throw, it wouldn't engage the shutter. This is, and I will need the freaking little magnifier that I've been using this whole time. Excuse me. This will need what's called a straight thread screw tip on it. This, by the way, in comparison, is a modern one. This is called a tapered head. Let me show you in comparison, side by side. This one is a straight head, straight thread, straight head, or American cable release head. This, in comparison, is a tapered one, a conical one, right? It turns out that, like, cameras manufactured really, like, before, I want to say 1948, 1938, 1941, were almost always going to be this straight American screw head for it, and everything else since has really been this conical one. This fits perfectly. So when I discovered this, this happens to be a Bolex cable release. And I did not realize that it wasn't proprietary to the stereo realist, because it really was the only camera that I was shooting, like, that was that old, that was a film camera for like any period of time, especially for the past 24 years. So as soon as I realized that this was a straight thread, that it was different from the conical thread, I was like, it was a great moment for stereo film photographers, or film photographers anywhere before 1938, let's just say. And so this is the same exact fit, the same exact cable release that you will need for a Mercury 2. So if you have a problem finding a cable release for this, it is called a straight thread. It is called the American straight head thread or something like that. And the Vivitar grip that I have specifically has a nice little hole in it that I can thread a cable release through. Right? That's nice. Good for me. And you need to screw it in. If you want to just like shoot like on the fly, this happens to be an extremely long one. I'll like I'll do something like this, and basically it's supposed to like end up being like that, and like being like a thumb grip, and like like just like depressing it with your thumb. But like like if you want to in theory, like blah blah blah, and like there's your cable release. This isn't plugged in correctly, so that's why the flash isn't going off. Also, I didn't wind it, so it might not be going off because of the shutter not going around. But that is basically the other one. The other tip or trick or a hack, I want to say. This takes a pre-war American-style straight cable release thread to it, and this happens to be a very nice grip for it. It kind of matches, and if everything was perfect right now when I'm shooting this video, instead of being like like a fucking 4-foot cable release, it would be something very shorter, and I would be able to just use my thumb to take the shot. And so that in itself, that's enough. That's enough, right? Anything else that you need to learn about the Mercury or the Mercury 2, if you really, maybe I'll make another video on just regular operations of the camera. But um, those are tips that perhaps only stereographers know. I never even looked up a cable release that would have to be for any other camera besides the stereo realist. It just so happens to be the same exact cable release for this. This is a particularly nice grip if you want to like mount your flash on here, and if you have a very weird, the best, I want to say, my favorite stereo a flash adapter, a PC cord flash adapter. You just stuff it on there, and then you plug your cord in, and voila, you have a flash. For the first camera ever designed to use a flash, and I don't know anybody who's using a Mercury 2 or a Mercury with the flash as was intended. Also, please load it up with some some ancient color film if you can. I'm using tungsten. It should turn out very nicely. I'm very happy that I saved the roll for something special, and this is it. And probably the best among the bunch is, something wrong with your shutter? Oh, I'm sorry. Like, what do you do about it? Like, shove some lighter fluid in it, slush it around, and like, voila, it's done. It's done. That's a snap. How snappy is that? Oh, snap. Right? I had to make a joke. I'm so glad that came on the fly. But that's it. I'm going to end the video right here. So, please, if you want to learn some, like, super camera nerd research that I've been doing, and it's like, oh my god, it's so involved, and it's a year's worth of research, and basically it really disproves I mean, like, the history of the stereo realist is fucking manufactured. It's false. It's absolutely made up. It is one of these, I'm not gonna say that word, but it's not only is it just quite unbelievable if you ever read it, and I don't know anybody who's ever actually like regurgitated this history without reading it. Excuse me, with reading it, because if they ever did read it, they'd be like, who the fuck wrote this shit? Just like I did, I'm sure. And really, not only who the fuck wrote this shit, but like, why is it repeated verbatim? I mean, verbatim. In this story of this camera company and the history of this camera and this one, it's mind-boggling. But that's it, and I hope you can use the tips that I did in this video. These are my tips as a stereographer, because I just know my stereo stuff, and it just so happens that this camera was the inspiration for the stereo realist, which, if it counts to be the most produced and blah 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 most popular, then so be it. It happens to be the most inoperable, but it definitely stole so many elements from the Mercury 2 and the Mercury camera that basically the same things that I use for that apply to this camera as well, which is my favorite camera. The best camera in the world. And that's it. I'm Alicia. I hope you enjoyed this video. Bye.